Okay, Nisha, we're live. Hey, wait, you're here.
Yep.
Okay.
We're not doing this on Substack.
Huh? Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
We'll upload the video. Okay, so a bit of a change. We're going to have a walk and a
Yes.
talk. Okay.
Walk and a talk.
So our cameraman will now walk in front of us, backwards.
You walk backwards.
You have to face
Yeah.
us. Okay. So right now we're in front of my property. So I want to show you a couple of things. Look at the cactus rose. Careful.
Yep. This one?
Cactus rose, which we dry. This is the Mexican sunflower, which is really robust. They're crazy.
Bright yellow.
Yeah. So you have to be in front of us. How are you going to do this?
So they kind of create a bit of a barrier,
Yes,
physical barrier.
because you can see from the road, you know, so it's sort of a visual barrier. Oh man, this is a tree that's had to grow out of nothing. I have to get rid of it.
This is teak.
I think they call this something wind.
So you've got this wild space beside
Yeah.
your place.
Actually, maybe we'll go up this wall because it's kind of pretty, right? And it's a bit easier with him helping.
Backwards.
Yeah. So, no traffic. Okay, so we're going to walk on this wild space that's next to my house, which is really pretty. And we'll get to see a few wild plants and some escapees. So, okay, so here's some escapees, which are actually really pretty. There is some, this is the Singapore daisy. It's really endemic here.
Right.
And it's medicinal. It's Spaghetto something calendula.
Okay.
It's medicinal.
Calendula.
And then we're walking through this quite dense lalang, which is kind of great. So they come and they cut this every...
This is the pathway?
I'm not quite sure. They're supposed to cut everything, I think. But they seem to have just cut the pathway this time, right?
I mean, it's got its benefits, right?
Yeah, it's kind of pretty.
Is there anything like a power line or something, like a utility interest? So no?
No.
Okay.
No. So this property used to be a ballet school when I was a little kid.
Oh.
Yep. So I remember coming here and waiting there for my sisters to finish their ballet class.
Yeah. Sorry, I got distracted. Oh, so then there's a building, and then there's no more building now.
They've knocked it down because this was the site of that Villa Nabila, which attracted people because they thought it was haunted and all that kind of stuff.
But interesting name, though, Villa Nabila.
Okay, let's look at this tree because this is this crazy. It's like in the mornings. I don't know if you hear it in the mornings, but it is just alive with birds in the morning. Yeah. It's like this hub central and really noisy.
It's a very active zone.
I think that's like a ficus tree. Right?
Yeah. This is what's this? The one that you make the leaf of.
No, it isn't actually. It's something else.
It looks similar, but it's
like
not. Yeah.
Yeah, it isn't. It's actually got a really pretty flower. This one. So there's a lot of ficus, which you see there's a lot. Which provides a lot of fruit for the wildlife here. Yeah. Which is probably why it's so busy. The birds really like it. So over here, I think there was like one tapioca, and then when they cut the grass, they would just leave it, and it just became bigger and bigger, bigger and bigger.
It expanded
and bigger.
its
And now
empire.
it's like, and actually it's host to a lot of wild stuff. I see cobras in here,
Right.
stuff like that. Okay.
Do you feel the cold air coming from this section?
Yeah, they're actually doing something here, or is that across the street?
That's across the street. Yeah, the wind is coming in and it's cold. Quite nice.
It's too bad they've just cut it because there's actually quite a bit of
No, but it's
wildfire.
very alive. You see like things hopping around in the garden, like really small things, really big things.
Yeah, but sometimes there's quite a lot of wildflower going through it,
Yeah. Oh,
which is unusual because not a lot of spaces allowed to stay as grassland, if you know what I mean. Because secondary growth will overtake,
underutilized.
and it will become jungle, pretty quickly. Yeah.
Oh, I feel like the last time I came here with the class.
Smaller?
Yeah, it was literally this lane.
Yeah.
But now they've cleaned it up.
They've cut it up to there.
All the way back. But nobody uses this space for programming. Nobody uses this space for anything, right? It's just left.
But did you see the sign?
Yeah.
No trespassers.
Violence, violence. Against the outsiders. Oh, that's another one.
Bikers, right?
Yeah, but the birds are like so happening.
So maybe we'll sit when we get up there.
See what?
Maybe we'll sit when we get up there and have a little chat. Oh, and here's the dreaded garbage.
Of all things, styrofoam.
Right? What's it even doing here?
Oh, it's quite deep. Oh, they've also removed some of the date trees. I remember there was like a big date tree here.
There was a big saga tree there. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Unless the owners have started looking into it.
I think they may be thinking of doing something.
Someone's assessing it.
So that's a very tropical scene, isn't it?
Yeah.
Big fern, big banyan tree, epiphytes.
Yep.
Okay, so we just finished our edible education weekend.
Yep.
2 days.
Yep.
9 till 4. How do you think it went?
I think the kids that we got in general had some experience outdoors. They were already
Should I stay here a little bit?
over there, maybe. Wait, it's not so deep.
For sake, it doesn't have to move.
Oh, yeah, over there, it's not so deep. Yeah. Yeah, I think they were somewhat experienced.
Yeah, they were used to doing programs like that.
Yeah.
Being outdoors like that. I've had kids that struggle with mosquitoes,
or the heat
and stuff like that.
the rain. Yeah, so it rained on that first morning, and then it was quite hot the second day. And then in between, there was a lot of back and forth between the indoor, semi-outdoor classroom and the outside. But yeah, they were quick to
we
go.
always remained in this, what we want, this verandah space. So we're still outdoors. We still feel we're outdoors. So when it rained, we just pulled down all the
blinds,
rattan blinds, so you could still feel air and wind. And then when the sun came up, we'd pull it out.
Again,
Yeah, so which is actually key to actually our what we want to offer is this sort of real understanding of being outside, and also a little bit different. I mean, we're both trained in forest school, and one of our issues with forest school is that it's quite egocentric. Not egocentric, Eurocentric. Well, being outside is probably a lot more pleasant, maybe not all year round, but than it is here. Here it actually can be extreme, it can be quite extreme. Heat, you can get a heat stroke, you can be exposed to lightning. There's no way you can be in the rain for any longer than 3 minutes.
It can rain up to like 12 hours a day here.
And also, it's not like that drizzle you get in Europe where you can stand out in it for a few hours. And with a raincoat, you'd be fine. Here, you'd be drenched, you know. So, what we do have is actually that veranda space. This is a architectural heritage that we understand here. Is verandaed spaces. What is the Malay one that you said? Anjong, that people sit in and can look out and not feel that they're out, but are in some form of refuge. And don't feel disconnected from nature.
I feel like it's always been a spot in the house where you would sit to rest, but also to observe what's happening outside. You know? And sometimes the immediate neighbor will come and they'll just sit there and have coffee. So it's always been
I like that because
space.
that sort of ties in with the Japanese thing of a genkan, which is where you can greet a visitor without having them to do the
come into your house,
take off the shoes and come to a more intimate space. So you can actually hang out outside. So it's not outside. It's semi-comfortable.
It's like the weather.
Encouraged to stay, but maybe not stay too long. Yeah, so that's kind of cool. Okay, so and as you said, we had heavy rain. We had quite hot sun and everything in between. And we managed to get through it. I personally was quite pleased with it. I thought, you know, we've done all these things before, but maybe we haven't put it together as a
I think it's a different iteration of the same thing. You know, some of the things you've done at the park, some things we've done in the last forest school session, and I think some of the things we thought in gardening workshops before, and then we kind of steered clear of just vegetable farming, and we stuck to aesthetics. We expanded it to edibles, which are outside.
Because I also wanted them to think about growing things as a holistic thing. Which is why we started with Eat Your Landscape kind of element, so that we understand that we also want to draw from our own landscape and our own food systems. And planting things needs to consider that. And also we also want to bring to the attention of the kids, which a lot of kids and adults don't know, is our food system is very globalized now. We actually have no sense of where it's coming from, who's doing it, whatever. So this was just about bringing that focus back into, you know, we get this from here, this grows well here. That's why we grow it for vegetables. You know? And also the idea of some kind of culinary heritage, which was also interesting because our kids were quite diverse. We had an Australian, with Singaporean.
And for small people, they had quite a broad experience base.
True.
So although they may live here, but they have experiences elsewhere. Or they live in the city, but they have experience because their grandparents have a farm. You know, so they have that.
That's interesting too.
You know, cross spatial experience. You know, but it also brought up some very interesting comments. Because, you know, like labor.
What did you think about your grandfather working out?
How much time does one person work in a day, and what were the expected, like, how to say, ethical returns for the individual working outside? So it created enough discussion to feed curiosity for the next session, for like an up next module kind of thing. It also, I think, made them question certain things. So we talked about active spaces in the yard. We talked about layering in terms of like sunshade and plants liking certain things. So I think a few of the kids kind of like, I never considered that in my garden. And one girl was just complaining that her long beans died. And, you know, that was frustrating for her because she couldn't keep it alive. And another kid had her grandma who was co-gardening with her. So then the solution was, okay, we need our grandparents to assist. And the third kid, Shivanan and brother were like, oh, my grandfather has a farm. You know, so amongst the kids, you know, they had things to self-pollinate and to discuss, you know.
Right.
So like,
and also what was unusual is that the event is held at my flower farm, which is unusual. We're not very vegetable. So that first session, which was Eat Your Landscape, we had them try what are really like gourmet culinary botanical leaves for garnish, flowers, and that was
I think they had favorites. They had favorite leaves, they had favorite flower, they had favorite tea, they had favorite biscuit.
And we used all those things to be part of the story. For example, the biscuits. You know, we made them read the packet. Because the biscuits actually came from Batu Pahat in Johor. Which is actually used to be standard. If you bought biscuits from the little sundry shop, they would have come from Johor. But now we have no idea where they come from.
For sure.
You know. And then we also sort of folded that into their lunchtime. We get a plant base. Some of those plants came from the garden. They were garnished with flowers. Or had some of the tropical greens that we have growing. So, and this is something that I will post as separate posts, is this idea of a lunch lesson you learn through your lunch about local, about culinary heritage, about plant-based heritage, which is another thing that we want to teach. And we did also talk about some other things related to that, because we are not vegetarians. We're not religiously compelled to be vegan or vegetarian. But we do
eat more plant-based.
We aspire to eat more plant-based, and on the basis that actually for two reasons. One is it's more sustainable. And B, it is actually our heritage. We actually used to eat more vegetables.
I think this is a conversation I have with Lyman all the time. Like, because people who go to shops stop eating the vegetables, and then the shop person feels like it's a waste, when they cut the quantity or the variety that they put in your plate, they tend to cut the vegetables first. So they give you a smaller portion of vegetables. And we struggle, because when we go and eat, like say nasi ayam, we're looking for that salad, we're looking for that, you know, the timun and the tomato and all those kind of things that come with your nasi ayam. And now most places don't even give you the tomato and the nasi ayam.
And also, you know,
it's quite sad.
I was just telling you today that, you know, we went for lunch at a
local
Malay food stall, and I've seen her trying to get young people to eat vegetables.
Right.
Because young people now eat rice, maybe some sambal, some gravy, curry, but something fried. And that's it. No other lao, no cooked vegetables, no ulam, no nothing.
I guess oil is satiating.
And it's become so common. You know?
But what I realized the kids really enjoyed about the leaf flower tasting was that when you ask them, what did it taste like? Without knowing the name. And they'll conjure up like ginger and sour with an aftertaste of bitter.
Some of them were pretty good. Right? I was quite surprised at the articulation of some of them.
It's a garnish. It's something you put on the plate to make it look pretty.
It's a little bit bitter. I mean, she captured, like, you know, some of them were capturing the nuances of some of the flavors.
And then it's like, oh, it tastes a bit cheesy. And we're like, okay. So I feel like language is another thing. And we've talked about this in a previous podcast. We talked about how words are disappearing or it's less utilized because people
words of nature.
Because people are less outdoors. But then if you think about food, green food, you know, plant-based food on your plate, and you have rich food experiences, but you can't articulate it, then that's a bit of a loss, isn't it? So I think food may be the entry point to nature-based words which relate to bigger things. You know, like crunchy and like, you know, slimy and salty.
And just to describe our lunches, the first day I did a tempeh burger with 2 salads. It wasn't 100% of a hit. I think we had like 25% of not sure. and some really like
But
it.
I also feel when young people think of a burger,
maybe that's another
you know,
thing,
there is that comparison to
that
a meat burger, you know.
Yeah.
But I think
it looked like it.
It looked like it, yeah, for sure. And I think that was the part where it dropped a little bit because it looked right, but it didn't taste the same. So I think priming them into like, you know, a bit more about like tempeh, or, you know, I don't know. I don't have the answer, but I think, you know, when you air fried the offcuts,
that was better.
Yeah.
It was, isn't it? Yeah.
So it's got nothing to do with the taste. It's got to do with the crunchy.
I think it was too
thick.
Yeah.
But
it looked great, but I think it was a little
But I also feel the offcuts felt a little bit more like eating nuggets.
Maybe.
So maybe for them it will be an easier entry point.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe it's just experimenting, and I think that's the value of running a pilot or a program, to just test these ideas, you know.
Yeah.
Because when we do the eating lesson,
when we get to the nutrition and the cooking skills, I do want to return to that because, you know, we have this history of eating tempeh, which is a fermented soybean, which changes the nature of the soybean. It removes some of the problems with soybean, which are some of the people are scared about. So that's one. Tofu is another one. You know, I think there's a scare about soy because I think in the West people are actually drinking too much soy milk. Whereas when we eat soy products, it's much less. And there's never been a problem.
Because we only take soy as a dessert. We don't take soy as a meal.
No, we.
Soy milk.
Soy milk,
we take it only as a dessert.
We never would drink it like dairy.
I think it became a problem because they drink it in replacement of dairy. Like, so you have oat milk and almond milk and soy milk.
So I don't think an Asian in the 70s was drinking like half a liter of soybean milk every day, which is basically what, by the time you do for breakfast, you have a cup with your cookie and all that stuff. That adds up to at least half a liter of milk every day. So that's an issue. So we had a tempeh burger for day one. And on day two, we had a vegetable biryani and lentil curry, very, very mild. So it's not offensive because I've cooked it before where it was a little spicy and some of the kids did
struggled with it.
So this time we made it really, really mild, and then we made an omelet with flowers in it. And we garnished with flowers. So and that was good. People like that.
I mean, it's familiar as well.
And then for break time, we had a botanical drink. First day we had blue pea, second day we had roselle, and then the afternoon we had a tea. We had a fermented mulberry tea on day one, and we had a cranberry hibiscus leaf tea on the second
Favorite leaf.
And that was good. That was very enjoyable. And we had like local kueh, goreng pisang and stuff like that. I think it worked out really, really, really nicely. I think also we learned a few things in the interaction. Like we got to sharpen up the balance of our deliveries. Like the day one radio work, you know, we went from tasting things,
combination
walking around to
active learning and the theory exploration.
Which was the biggest surprise of the day when we asked what was the favorite lesson. It was your history of agriculture.
The fact that they liked history was amazing.
Who thought it would be about sitting down and listening to some demanding subject, right?
I think they really, because they have a lot of knowledge about like photosynthesis, you know, and they were expecting us to ask about photosynthesis.
Really?
Yeah, I think anytime you ask them what does the plant need to grow, all the answers will come out. But then when you go like, what do you think a farmer that did not have cows used to plow their land? How big do you think the land was? You know, do you think it was just their family? Do you think they had workers? So I think they like that how to say? I have to think about it now. The farmer had no workers. He had no cows.
I mean, I think that maybe they're trying to rationalize the science they learn at school.
Possible. It's highly possible.
And what we're teaching is a sort of a wisdom, general knowledge kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which is our lane. You know, we know that this is important. You know.
And then we showed them some of the earlier machines in agriculture, and I think the scale was like wow, the farm has to be really big to take such a huge, machine. And I think that's when they started thinking like it would cost more, fewer people will be able to do it. And then now you've got like this kind of high value urban farm, which has no machinery except for water irrigation, And I think it really gave them that contrast to identify what was value in terms of the food that we eat. And I think, if anything, they will have more questions from before they came.
Sort of side path about that because a lot of my clients, particularly in the bar business, Johor Bahru bar scene is really thriving, and there's a lot of four-handed pop-ups, weekenders, and they're coming from Hanoi and Bangkok and Taiwan to come and do a weekend here. And so my clients are bringing them to my farm and we have a really interesting conversation about it. So, and how it relates to this is I always ask them, so how do you get your stuff? And it's quite interesting because everyone has a different path. Some of them have to access it through a heritage system. Some old auntie or uncle sells this at the night market, maybe, and that's how they will get it. Sometimes they have to go to someone growing it in their home, asking them to scale up to buy it. And almost always say they don't have a modern farmer like me.
That offers them what they need from the cultural space.
With a direct sort of interface with them, saying, okay, I've got this, I got this, you like this.
And I think that's another thing that we talked about with the kids, that as agriculture became more industrial, people also had home gardens that function as a harvesting farm. So like they had trees that you could eat the leaves, you could have building material, you could have flowers. So I think although people had flowers in their home, it was usually for rituals. It wasn't for the edibility of the flower, right? And I think someone mentioned eating ginger flower. So, they do have some things, but I think having the layer of being here gives them a lot more depth. And I think
we also grow a lot of things which I would say are rare, like that ginger orchid. No one else is growing that. Even cranberry hibiscus as a leaf. No one's really offering that as a salad.
If you would grow it at home, that's about it. It's from because the home growing botanist community are very seasonal. It's like finger lime, and then finger lime becomes so expensive in the market. And then next time they'll grow, I don't know, something else. And then there's a boom in that. So it's very seasonal, but the consistency of edibility kind of doesn't exist outside of someone who's farming it commercially. So,
So we sort of meander through more complex subjects, but then we also anchored it in like how to grow things from seed.
Yeah, for sure.
How to grow things from vegetative cuttings, and some basics of organic gardening, which is composting, mulching, fertilizer. I mean, all of them, we just gave them the basics because, I think if anyone really needs to learn, they will have to take a deeper dive into it.
For sure.
But just the understanding of what it's about. And because we are a small farm, we were able to show them it at a certain level of scale, big compost containers, a big mound of mulch that we buy from the city. That kind of thing, and goat manure that we buy in bottles, so they can actually kind of see, And then we introduced the idea of non-natural things, but this is something
native and naturalized,
No, I'm that chemical, which I also want to be careful with because. We don't want to end up shaming people. We don't, because that's the reality of our life. You go to supermarket,
it's convenience.
It's hard to buy anything else. And if you can't afford organic, which is 2-3 times more expensive, and then if you've got a family with 3 kids, that becomes really costly to feed them that. So we want to, they're pretty young. They're 8 to 12. So we want to introduce the idea that there's a difference between the two. And eventually it is about choices. And then we want to introduce the idea of better choices, which also involve things like making plant-based choices, so on and so forth. So it's a path to that kind of understanding. You know, we sort of hinted at the whole thing about animals.
Yeah, the ethics part. Yeah, I think.
And then we talked about ethics. You know, it was really an introduction course, which, quite frankly, I think adults need as well.
Right? Yeah, I mean, we take a lot of things for granted because either it's never been done before.
Yeah.
And we don't want to go down a path that then we get committed to hold space for in the long term and keep improving.
Yeah.
And there's also the thing about realizing that, hey, if you're small, you have the dynamics, flexibility to keep adjusting. Right. And I think that's something that people are afraid to do because we're always comparing ourselves to each other.
Yeah.
And I feel like when we had the discussion about ethics, they were very unclear.
They were unclear.
What is acceptable?
I was a little shocked at some of that.
They had no gauge. How much one can work outdoors for how long without break. They understood that, you know, people needed like a shade to rest and food and water and like a break time and a salary. And then they kind of understood that you need to train them somewhat to be able to do what they do. But they had no idea how many hours one should be working, you know?
One cure for that is actually when we've done it at the park. We make them do some work.
Yeah, that's
which we couldn't do this because it was a little bit more fast paced.
Also, the
weather wasn't so great. But that is one way to decide.
Yeah.
They got to understand.
You don't realize how humid it is until you're working outdoors. And humidity changes with wind. If there is no wind, humidity builds up, even if it's cool. You know, and I think not realizing that actually is the trap. You know, you can get caught out in this.
And you know, you're sweating. It's you know, the moisture in the air, the amount of the work. I mean, reading is a real chore. It's not like this. It's really pulling up because things are growing really, really quickly. You know, you know, that's why I am just thrilled that I can afford to pay gardeners to do it. Otherwise, I don't know how it could be done. It's very hard to scale this up, you know. And I look forward to the day robots can do it.
Scan.
Yeah. So we did intersperse it with the basics of growing things, but like you said, you know, and we talked extensively about this before. I personally, and I know you agree with me, I don't want to say to them, you know, you learn this and you grow vegetables. So we were able to show them, you can grow flowers and run a business out of it. You know, there's also medicines. You know, and I showed them that maybe you want to grow flowers just for your enjoyment, and we show them a vase of flowers. Maybe you want to do ikebana. Maybe you want to do still life painting, landscape painting. You know, maybe you want to become an artist. You know, those using what I think should be an open source skill, which I loved about when I lived in the UK. People treat it like that. They treat it that everyone should know gardening. And if you don't know, I will give you some time.
I think the Victorians had a hand in that.
I will give you some of my time to help you along the way. You know, it's not so, you know, like I would love going to like a church fair or, you know, something. Because people will always, you know, they'll try and assess where you're at. And then like, you know, even when I lived in New York, there was a lot of like, people who were growing things in apartments. There was a rare plant club. I mean, there were, you know, there is a network of people who are interested in growing things.
Yeah, because you talk about multiple intelligence, and within the multiple intelligence spectrum, there is nature intelligence. And some people, because they have a stronger affinity to it, will tend to gravitate towards these kind of activities, you know, like gardening or like animal care and stuff like that. So I think it's part of the learning landscape. And you will find kids who are better at that or better at cooking, you know, better at fixing and mending, better at math. So it's all the different intelligences coming together and forming what is the basis of a quality life.
So then we interspersed it with, so the tasting thing at the beginning was actually utilizing the fact that we are selling to chefs. So they could kind of experience how a chef might approach this product. You know, it's
also because they were explaining what they taste.
You know, you could say I was watching like what did they put in their book?
Yes, the book.
Like what made them do that choice? Obviously, they're aesthetically drawn to it. Although the big hit was the cranberry hibiscus.
Do you realize some of the kids were eating the leaf after it was stuck in the book? Yes. That's so random.
Yeah.
Cranberry leaf chips.
And then asking me for new leaves to replenish his book. Yeah. So there was that sort of that element to it. And like the big surprise was they were really interested in the stories behind it, like your history of agriculture. What else did you do on the second day?
I did the ethics, and in the morning I did reading your landscape. So we talked about water flow,
like suitability. How did that go?
It was good because we talked about patterns and we looked at your garden, and so we had like the durian tree had a pattern because it was like this big thing that created a lot of shade. It also stopped a lot of rain from hitting the ground directly. And then on the trees there were epiphytes. So we talked about how water flowed from the top of the tree down those branches into those epiphytes down to the ground. They looked at how nutrient was recycled through that. So they looked at nutrient cycling. So the durian tree had like a main stage. And then they looked at the slope and how the slope and the compost and all of that coming out from the garden to the slope and down to the lower part where you had a lot of seedlings at that immediate slope. And we talked about, obviously we started off with the sun orientation and what was the most, how could you harvest the sun in the most suitable way for your business? Because they saw the sunrise and the ceilings, and as they came up to the porch, they saw the sun drying. You know, so then they understood that.
We allocate the plants based on we know what their needs are, and they end up in that part of the garden. Like some very morning.
The full sunflower guys,
we put those there, and you know we kind of organize it.
And I think when they came up to the porch and they saw the drying area, they were like, "Oh, this is so smart," you know. And I think that is part of introducing appropriate technology. That you don't have to buy an electrical plug-in machine to do the job that can be done passively, you know. And I think they also like the aesthetics of it. Like, oh, it's so nice that you can see it shrink as it dehydrates. And then they saw the pots with the water-based plants and stuff. So, you know, so they like the fact that when they understood the water cycle, and how evaporation would happen, and you know, it clicked for them from the theory and the model of the water cycle that we talked about on the first day. When they looked at it in the garden and they saw how things were mulched, reducing, you know, runoff and all these kind of things, elements coming into play in the physical space. I think that was, that had a lot of questions. They either they didn't understand it or they felt like, but why, you know? And that was where that was addressed and stuff. So that was quite good. And that was what kicked off the morning.
And then the other thing we introduced is actually, okay, we've taught you some basics. We've taught you some context. Now, what do you want to do with it? Right? So that was our good gardener and good farmer thing. Is that what do you want to do? I mean, interesting enough, a few of those kids actually had farmers in their family. We had a grandfather who was growing fruit. We had a family who owned some farms. What was the third one? What was that?
The Japanese kids were growing at home. They were growing at home. So they had grown broccolis, tomatoes, and capsicums,
so they understand kitchen garden. So then we sort of said, okay, so now what do you want to do with it? Like, what kind of gardener do you want to be? And I sort of showed them some of the, and I also said you don't have to choose one and elements of it. You know, do you want to be the person that just cuts flowers for your floral arrangements? Do you want to just grow vegetables? You know? Do you want to just grow herbs? Which are we also talk about the how space, income, and land availability affected these choices. I mean, maybe you can't. And maybe you can.
It can be a limiting factor, or it could be a spur for innovation.
An inspiration. I'm going to be rich and own some land. And and like, do you want to grow vegetables? Do you want to grow herbs? Do you want to grow fruit?
And I think one of the responses to that was, I want to be a vet, and I will grow. No, I want to be a zookeeper, and I will grow.
I want to be a zookeeper.
I
want to be a vet. So the animal.
And then she was like, "But I will grow things if the animals need it." So she was very clear that she would grow food, wild food for the animals. But she won't be doing any gardening, like food, human food.
She was very clear she didn't want to do gardening.
Yes.
Hey, which is also part of teaching them things. It's like, okay, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, and it's fine. You know,
I think it's cool and all, but you know, not me.
Yeah. But the knowledge helps. The empathy you build around what is, you know, farming helps. I think identifying what's important.
What about the idea of foraging? Did you?
I think we gave them a warning because so you thought something about delicious and poisonous.
Yes, delicious, edible, toxic, poisonous. That's a range,
right? So you taught them that, and then they were happily chomping on all these leaves that you'd given them, and then we wrapped it up at the end with like. There are things that you ate here, which, you know, you carefully, you know, it was curated by Chris.
Anywhere.
And you can forage from here, right? But you can't do this everywhere.
Sure.
And I think now they have a sense of appreciation that I need to know the plant first, I need to verify, and we talked about the app Seek that they could use to scan the, you know, the name of the plant and then find out more about it before they consider that it's edible, and checking in with somebody else to know that it's edible. So I think foraging is something that they are aware is possible, but they're also aware that it's also dangerous. So I think that was a lesson that they all kind of choked up about. Yeah.
And then you had the more difficult good farmer thing, which was about ethics and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's where I think we thought, oh, okay, this is knowledge. There's a knowledge gap here.
Yeah.
And which we need to figure out how to like.
Yeah, I mean it was easy because in one point because I use what do you call it, industrial agriculture as the base, and I said like, so in a farm that uses like chemical pesticides and chemical stuff to grow things, what do you think are important to safeguard the worker? And they were quite quick with the responses and stuff, so they're familiar with. You know, how to say, the poisons-based stuff. But when it came to other things, like, you know, how long do they work and all these kind of things, they didn't have a gauge, they didn't have an understanding of it.
And they may have been a little young to really fully understand the economics of it as well. You know, because I figured that out because, you know, when I would get on the train, pay to go half an hour to my friend's house, to do some vegetable gardening. And when I actually calculated, I might as well have just bought organic vegetables from the farmer's market in New York and paid the farmer.
There's a health benefit to your gardening.
We want to teach the kids, anyone. We want to teach everyone that make that choice as well. You know, maybe go and then you also make the choice of, oh, you know what, I love this. You know, like I love hanging out there. I love being out in nature. It was a great day out. We would end up in the evening cooking something together. I would absolutely, the price is not an issue here. But the price is an issue. We have to kind of consider.
The reality is a reality.
There's a reality to it, you know. Especially if you have failure and you're redoing things, like that. Because that's the reality of a farmer.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, we've lost things, we've lost, you know, sections of crops and stuff like that. So we do have to worry about stuff like that. So, so I think all in all well-rounded, and I think what would be interesting is to see the after effects, and we know a little bit of the after effects because one of our parents came back and told us, "Oh, he's downloading the whole thing to the grandma right now." And she was quite surprised at actually how much he had retained.
Because he didn't look like he was paying attention, but you know, he kind of went in, made a loop, and like stayed in there.
And then re-emerge at 8 o'clock at night.
And I think that's just the way people learn. Different people learn differently. And I know some of them were very visual. They drew a lot in their journals. So I think journaling was part of that learning process. And I think you were saying to them that in the future there will be like art related classes here and stuff. So I think it will, as they are exposed to more and more of this, I think it will start building their baseline. And it will create more depth and more uniqueness and more personal perspectives of these things. And I think that is how we grew up, you know. You learn as a kid, B stands for bees, right? Then you go, it's a pollinator, or it provides honey. And then later on you go like, oh my God, it's not just pollinating like the flower, but like the farm.
Yeah.
And then it's dying, and why is it dying?
And just on a side note, those were all things that were in their periphery.
Yeah.
They saw the bees, they saw they saw they saw all these things happening in real time.
Yeah, and they saw like the stingless bee and the honeybee. So they did see variety as well. Yeah. And on the durian tree, they saw 2 crested lizards going up and down.
Yeah.
So then we talk about a habitat and what is an ecosystem, and So I think in terms of vocabulary, they did get quite a lot of new perceptions and perspectives of the word.
Yeah.
And in a contextual sense, not just in a language sense. So I look forward to seeing them again.
I have to say that it wasn't just random that we came up with this curriculum. It's actually quite a complicated curriculum that is based on our knowledge, our shared knowledge. Plus, also we've run these programs in different formats when we were at the park, and we put it together. Also, having experienced some feedback from kids of various ages, so we kind of know what kind of works, what doesn't work, and then we're still surprised. We're still finding some surprises, and we've worked also with different income classes, different backgrounds. We've worked with sort of national schools. These will all have shades and nuances on how the experience is for the kid. So we want to build this sort of, a curriculum that kind of works for that. And just going forward, so we built one about how to grow things as a basic knowledge. You should know it just like your alphabet. Right? So should you want to do it at some point, you do it. You've got that in your background. You can look up a YouTube video or two. Download a book. And
you have resource people around.
You can get up and running.
And I think one of the moms were asking if they could come and do volunteer work. So that has its ups and downs. It's got its opportunities and its challenges. But I think the more experience they have, the more they will seek for it. And it doesn't matter if they volunteer for you or they volunteer for somebody else. Because they can always come back here and like learn different things as well. And do that practical experience somewhere else. So I think it opens the doorway for a lot of things. And I think hopefully what happens next is that we see the same kids again, like how we saw Sivanan and Lavi.
The other thing also is actually, we had a couple of adults.
True.
And I found that very valuable. I was reading their faces as well.
Right. How the penny fell for them,
it's
right?
It's a little harder to read a kid's face because you're not sure what's really working.
They're also running between...
But it was interesting that this is clearly information that is required this knowledge is required to pass to an adult population as well. I really found one of the moms, like, as we were talking through things, she was like, I never thought of it that way. She had knowledge. It's not that she didn't have it. No, exactly.
She had. But then she never saw this perspective of that same thing. And I think that is value. Because to be able to see something in different dimensions means that you can innovate. And when we talked about the history of things, the intention was really to talk about how do we create a new future if we didn't know what came from the past. And if we can see those patterns, we can possibly use some, harvest some, and then complement some, And I think that's kind of part of the learning through oral, process.
And the 4 components of edible education, we really only covered 2 of them. And we concentrate on growing wisdom, which is just learning how to grow things. But we did introduce a more holistic idea through Eat Your Landscape. And in that Eat Your Landscape module, we will also teach them concepts about local versus global. Carbon in energy, food miles, this kind of thing. Which I think if we had the opportunity to do it again, we would start to strengthen why this is important.
There's a lot of new words. I think Akata talked about food waste and food loss. And the kids were like, what's the difference? And I think he did an interesting, first step into that. So those things can become more visible and more discussed in the next lesson. Because his lesson was really about compost. You know? So he didn't really go too deep into it. But it did open the door for that space.
And in compost, there's ideas about zero waste. Right?
Yeah, and zero waste came back when you talked about your tea. it is a waste product, and you are harvesting it, and you're experimenting. And then we ask them, like, so do you think farmers and cooks are scientists too? Because they're making these experiments and they're making, exactly. So the fact that the kids recognize that, there's a lot of science in this was, I think, an opportunity for them to also look at other career opportunities than the basic set, because exposure is what creates a lot of these shifts. And if the kid doesn't have exposure, the parents don't have exposure, then they'll be just doing the same patterns again and again. And so I think it did pull together quite a broad overview for a lot of things.
So Inner Landscape and Growing Wisdom were like the two components, and we will be moving on to nutrition, because I think that is a huge knowledge deficit.
I will be the cameraman for that, because I'm not good in that department.
I mean, how sweet is sweet?
Yeah.
And then just food information is conflicting. We're told, and it keeps changing over time.
There was this little banter between the parents and me, and we were talking about so the Chinese believed that bitter was good for the liver. And then the lady was like, I never knew that. So there's certain things that are cultural, right? You drink this and it's cooling.
I mean, talk about bitter. Culture in the US, bitter is a no-no.
It's bred out of vegetables.
It's bred out of vegetables. Here, it's like, you eat, when I first came out, and there's quite a few bitter things in food. I don't like bitter gourd. And I'm like, don't like this. And they're like, eat it. It's good for you. So it's a completely different cultural take. It's eat it, stop complaining. Whereas the other one is, you don't like it? Let's fix it. So that's...
but they're a country of innovators, that's why. They're modifying everything.
Well, that's not a good way, So there is this idea of nutrition. Also, we live in a country where children are both obese and malnourished.
Yes.
That's frightening. We're also living in a country where food sovereignty is under heavy threat, and no one really understands this threat. They keep talking about food security. When the reality is, the problem is actually many of our kids actually don't want to eat heritage food. They want to eat burgers and pizzas. They want to, and they're doing it in climate-controlled malls, wearing sweatshirts and corduroy. This is very screwed up. And they would, people would rather eat spaghetti all'olio, which is nice, not sort of and not a Penang laksa with 30 ingredients in it, with some of them being medicinal and supportive.
It's beautiful to look at.
So there's that. And then the final thing is actually the notion of cooking skills, kitchen skills, because cooking and working in the kitchen is a magical process. You can turn things from this thing to that thing.
So I walked them through how a coconut life cycle is, and then we talked about coconut water, coconut milk, and coconut oil. And I saw.
Actually, another thing there was when they were in the pantry and just smelling things. Even the fermented things, the fragrant things, that was I think kind of fascinating. Not that they actually knew how to put it all together, but that's what we will do later.
But that's the database building. Next time when you do the next thing, then for them it's intuitive. Blue pea flower, natural dye, manipulatable by citric acid. All that will be baseline. And then you go to the next layer. So
do you think a mixed group would work better?
Mixed meaning?
Like children and adults?
I think it's a good conversation because they do talk to each other. It was a safe environment.
And
they didn't feel threatened by the adults.
I was worried that maybe the kids might be too dampened down by having adults.
I think the adults were well behaved.
They actually
Can I say that?
They were. I mean, we had to explain the behavior requirements, but they were very respectful. Except the end, the curiosity was so high.
I mean, they became kids themselves, and I think that's the beauty of gamification. Is that everyone becomes a kid, you know, everyone engages in that.
I'm wondering whether we should open it out to a more mixed group. We can talk a little bit more about
I think it's about
it's just
portion.
for kids.
Yeah, I think it's about portioning as well.
Yeah, because I think some of the things, as you said, some adults don't know.
Yeah.
And are at an intellectual level as the kid in that subject.
Yes, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So why not?
I mean, it's the failure of our education system to provide these valuable opportunities. You know, we don't have what do you call that? Cooking classes in school.
Yeah.
We used to have them. We don't have them anymore.
Yeah.
They probably don't have much experience using natural materials or natural fibers, which is something that we did look at when we were in the garden as well. And you know, just how things. So I brought some seeds, you know, some pods for lotus flowers. So I showed them a pod that was young and that the fruit was probably edible, and then it got older and then the fruit became inedible, but the pod was growing bigger, and then there was a pod that was really large, and the seeds were totally viable to grow, but the pod had dried out. So that conversation was really about that. Collecting the seeds at the right time was important. And the material changes as well, right? From this young fiber, unusable mush, which is really about buoyancy.
This is all knowledge. This is all,
And coconut.
And that's something that, which is missing here, because I'm comparing, I think, the UK was probably the best example of this, because I think the tradition of gardening is very high there.
Yeah.
That means children are learning gardening from their parents.
Or their grandparents or their neighbors.
Their parents are like, collect the seed. You know, because they need to store them over winter and reseed the garden. That
and they're prepping bulbs, right? They're prepping bulbs before the season. Yeah.
They're pruning.
They're planning their garden.
Yeah, so there's a lot more knowledge transfer of this sort of informal kind in the home. Whereas here, I think we're starting to get really devoid of this. People are living in apartments.
Yeah.
I think the notion of growing things is so disconnected, because what they're eating, what they're buying from the supermarket is so different from what you can actually grow. And what you can actually grow, nobody's eating. Because
they don't know how to cook it.
They don't know how to cook it. They don't like it anymore. It's too fibrous. It's too hard to chew. They want soft. They want cauliflower. And,
Okay. So I don't know. Did we quench their thirst for what they came for? Because I asked them before each session, what do you think you're going to learn? And you know, I think we offered a little bit more than what they expected.
I think it was it was an intense weekend.
Yeah, I think
we wanted to test that, right? So, and I think it worked.
I think it did. Yeah, I think maybe just a little bit of adjustment in terms of like the fitting the hands-on activity around a little bit, but pretty much I think it worked really well. Yeah.
Okay, I think we talked for an hour. As usual,
we talked for an hour
without any problems. So, shall we take a stroll back?
Yes. You can walk that way, Lemon. It's okay.
Hey, what's going on here?
Bamboo. Bamboo.
There's a wild cinnamon. Okay, I think we can wrap up actually. Okay, Nisha.
Yes.
Did you enjoy your walk?
Yes, walk and talk was good. Yeah. So also because we're talking about the workshop, which is
Okay, we'll catch up again next week.
Oh, please.